Please rise and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning and welcome back to RPtv. Today is Wednesday, October 2nd, 2019. As we have reported time and time again, criminals are not very smart, and other times they are just despicable characters, committing pointless acts of vandalisms. Let's go to Rihanna for the news.
On Thursday, September 26, 3 plaques recounting the timeline of the events of 9/11 were stolen from the Monmouth County 9/11 Memorial in Atlantic Highlands. Monmouth County Park System spokeswoman Karen Livingstone said that new plaques are being made and will be ready in 8 to 10 weeks. She said it was made possible by multiple donations from people who wanted to see the plaques replaced. Monmouth County Police Captain Thomas Stone says the investigation is ongoing. They are focused on finding the plaques and whoever stole them, and are offering up to $5,000 for information. People may send donations to the Friends of Monmouth County or contact the Monmouth County Crime Stoppers if they have information.
Big changes are planned for the Woodbridge Mall, but don't expect to find more restaurants or coffee shops. The changes involve fish and other sea creatures inside an aquarium. This also involves some controversy. Callie has that report.
An aquarium company should have its federal animal exhibitor license terminated, and new locations, including one planned for a New Jersey mall, rejected due to alleged neglect, PETA said. The animal rights organization filed a request Thursday with the U.S. Department of Agriculture asking for removal of Sequest's Federal Animal Welfare Act exhibitor license or refusal to approve its newest proposed locations, including one to open in Woodbridge this fall. In just a few years, Sequest's rap sheet has grown to include a manager on trial for cruelty to animals and various violations of both local and state laws, PETA Foundation Director of Captive Animal Law Enforcement Brittany Peete said. PETA is calling on the USDA to yank this cruel petting zoo's license. But a spokesperson for Sequest said the letter contains inaccurate and exaggerated stories.
Now it's time for announcements. Ecology Club will meet this Friday after school in room 1010. We will be painting birdhouses and making educational posters to hang around the school. Come have a snack and join us for some creative fun. Gay Straight Alliance will be having our first evening meeting of the year on Tuesday, October 8th. It will be in room 18 starting at 6 p.m. In addition to our regular discussions, it will be a game night. All students are welcome to attend. Tabletops Games Club will meet in the library after school on Wednesdays. Come check out a wide variety of board and card games. See Ms. Amoroso or Ms. Lemke for details. The Borough of Roselle Park is hosting its 5th annual Festival of India on Saturday, October 5th, 2019, from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. with an annual celebration and cultural fair. Free event begins with a taste of traditional Indian food from 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. in the cafeteria. At 7 p.m., the festival continues with presentations and later followed by Garba, a Raz traditional Indian dance in the gymnasium, and live music by Desi Beats Entertainment. Yearbook photo retakes will be October 23rd for high school. Interact is sponsoring a school supply drive until the end of October. If you have any items you would like to donate, please bring them to room 1. Anything is greatly appreciated. Interact will be hosting a movie night on Thursday, October 30th after school. Come join us and watch Beetlejuice. You can pay $3 to attend or bring in a snack to share. See Mr. Fucci and Rebecca Rodriguez for any questions. College Visit Field Trip, NYU, Wednesday, October 9th. Permission slips are due this Friday or until space fills, whenever comes first. Slips are available in guidance. This trip is open to all students, however, preference will be given to seniors and juniors. AP registration. Forms and payment are due to guidance by Tuesday, October 15th. College Fair, Wednesday, the 23rd of October, 8:30 to 10:30 a.m., RPHS Gym. The Garden Club will be meeting on Thursday, October 3rd, tomorrow. See Ms. Hernandez for details. There will be a park wrestling interest meeting tomorrow at 2:50 p.m. in room 19. Throughout the country, there has been a rise in deaths related to vaping. And now that problem has come to New Jersey. Let's go back to Rihanna for that report.
A North Jersey woman is the first person in the state to die of a vaping-related illness amid a nationwide outbreak of such cases, the State Department of Health announced Tuesday. Officials also said the number of confirmed or probable cases of lung diseases associated with electronic cigarette use has risen to 14 in New Jersey, the department said. The state is investigating 32 other cases. The ages of patients range from 15 to 51, officials said. More than 800 people nationally across 46 states and the U.S. Virgin Islands have been diagnosed with vaping-related illnesses. There have been 13 deaths across 11 states. State Senate President Stephen Sweeney D. Gloucester said he wants to pass legislation that would gradually ban the sale of vaping products in New Jersey.
Stay tuned, we will be right back. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and stay tuned for CNN 10.
As China commemorated 70 years of communist rule, protests once again flared up in Hong Kong. And that's our first report this Wednesday on CNN 10. I'm Carl Azus. We told you yesterday how Chinese officials and local leaders in Hong Kong were keeping an eye on events in the city. Hong Kong is a special administrative region of China. Its people have more freedoms than those in mainland China do. But many of them have been protesting for more democracy in Hong Kong because they're afraid China's communist government will tighten controls over the city. For 17 weeks, there have been demonstrations and some violence between protesters and police in Hong Kong. And on China's National Day, as elaborate celebrations were held in the Chinese capital of Beijing, chaos and violence spread across Hong Kong. Its police commissioner says the most violent scenes he's observed there happened on Tuesday. Protesters set fires in the streets. Police say rioters damaged government offices, stormed and damaged train stations, and beat up bystanders. Police fired tear gas, arrested more than 180 people across Hong Kong, and though they've fired warning shots with live ammunition before, Tuesday was the first time in the 4 months of unrest that an officer used deadly force. Police say an 18-year-old protester was shot and injured after attacking an officer, and that the demonstrator was being treated at a hospital. Hong Kong's police commissioner says the decision to shoot was legal and reasonable, but critics say the use of live ammo wasn't appropriate and that it risks making the situation worse. So far, troops and police from mainland China have not intervened in Hong Kong. Its local police have faced off with protesters. 10-second trivia. Under ideal conditions, NASA says it would take 9 months to travel between what two places? Earth and Pluto, the Moon and Mars, the ISS and Jupiter, or Earth and Mars? A one-way trip from Earth to Mars would take 9 months if the two planets were lined up just right. And scientists say that only happens once every 26 months, so the ideal launch times are more than 2 years apart. And even if we had the technology to get people to the red planet, right now we do not, they'd still face challenges ranging from deadly radiation to the difficulty of daily life. Our next report, though, shows you how some researchers are addressing those issues.
We are already pioneers. We are already destined to go to places where it's difficult and hard to survive, but where we actually have the means and the technology to do so.
The moon is the proving ground. Mars is the horizon goal. This budget fully funds Mars 2020.
We imagine a future where humans could go to Mars.
We are working on the human lived experience of space.
But will we repeat the mistakes of our past?
The frontier is an incredibly powerful idea in the American imagination.
The new frontier of science and space.
When we talk about space exploration, we should not bring these harmful narratives from Earth's past.
Mars has a very particular planetary imagination. It's our closest planet, we've taken the most images, we've sent the most probes, and we have very rich imaginations, both science fiction as well as scientific, about Mars's past, present, and future. So Mars has become imagined as a destination.
Space colonization. Beneficial occupancy of possibly the last and highest frontier, the space beyond Earth.
This is Lisa Masseri, a space anthropologist at Yale.
So there's all these different analog sites that offer a chance to imagine what existence on another planet might be like. So with this group of NASA scientists, we lived in the Mars Desert Research Station. My main takeaway was it was deeply uncomfortable. Pretending to live on Mars, even for only 2 weeks, is like the worst of camping.
What we would like people to realize is that living on Mars could be like living in an extraterrestrial Arctic oasis.
Architect Bjarke Ingels has been hired by the Dubai Future Foundation to create the Mars Science City, a prototype for a permanent human habitat on Mars in 2117.
Things that would be unnecessarily expensive or complicated or irrational on Earth would actually make perfect sense on Mars. So if you're building on Mars, you have a very, very thin atmosphere. So you have to create a pressurized environment. The buildings are going to be 3D printed with the local sand. The normal buildings tend to be square because straight lines are cheaper to work with than curves. But when you're 3D printing, it's all about the time and the amount of material. So rounded corners are actually cheaper because they're slightly more materially efficient. So suddenly, instead of having this kind of ultra-rational, machinistic architecture, you could actually end up having this like really organic architecture on Mars. But then you also have too much radiation, so we'll also have large spaces underground. Water is actually the best shield against radiation. We will have to create a self-sustained small city. Inside, people live and work and grow their food. So it's not really this sort of arid tin can. It actually becomes like a lush oasis, having to contain breathable air and to create buildings using local materials. And finally, the protection against the radiation. Those three elements combined is really what becomes the starting point for a new sort of entirely Martian form of architecture. We're building a prototype in Dubai. We're actually trying to recreate the conditions as much as possible so that you will actually have the feeling of what it's going to be like living on Mars.
We are working on the foundation of interplanetary civilization, so the technologies that you would want in your Martian settlement. I'm Ariel Ekwa. I am the founder and lead of the MIT Media Lab Space Exploration Initiative. And we have 28 different research groups all across science, engineering, art, and design. You don't necessarily want to live in a space habitat that was designed just by an engineer or just by an artist. You need the meeting of the minds.
Ariel's project, the Tesserae, is a self-assembling architecture.
Can we make this something that is on-demand, modular, and reconfigurable? You can take these tiles, pack them flat in a rocket, so somewhat Indiana Jones style. Then, once they're in orbit, they're released in this microgravity environment and allowed to float freely, and as the tiles are swirling around, they're drawn together through the force of magnets, and they'll be able to snap together and self-assemble, slowly growing into a much larger structure. One of the reasons that you see spheres so often in science fiction is that they are the most optimized volume for a given surface area. So what's expensive in space? It's the thing that you have to ship up from Earth and pay payload fuel for. So you want to maximize how much interior space you can use.
You've got to create that whole base of civilization, but without a lot of the handy things we have on Earth.
Build up the base, starting with one ship, then multiple ships, then start building out the city, then making the city bigger. Even bigger.
So you'd also have to have mining, refining, hydrocarbon production, which you can then turn into plastics.
I guess, how do you mine a planet without destroying it?
You don't. I'm Lucianne Walkwich, and I'm an astronomer at the Adler Planetarium in Chicago. There's no way to do some of the operations that companies would like to do that don't violate our policies about planetary protection as they stand now. The governing document that has really set the tone for really all of human spaceflight has been the Outer Space Treaty. It really contains a lot of very aspirational things. We won't have weapons of mass destruction, military installations on other planets. We should not do things to other worlds that might contaminate them and make them unusable. You know, most signatories were probably like, nah, maybe, until we have the ability to actually go after resources. Now, because of the Space Act, there is this permission to be able to extract resources. It could also mean something like water. You know, if you want to own the water on Mars and there is biology in it, then what? Is a planet's worth only determined by the presence of life?
Is an octopus able to dream? I'm sure you've asked yourself this question many times, and this video may have the answer. It's from an upcoming PBS program on octopi. The animals are able to change their skin color when they're trying to escape predators or be them, and this one was recorded changing color in its sleep. So a marine biologist says this might indicate that the 8-armed mollusk was dreaming. But what was it dreaming about? Oysters on the half shell, an 8-legged race, watching a cephalopodcast? There are a plankton of possibilities here, and we're not going to invertebrate them or octopile on criticism. When an octopus dreams, y'all, the sea's the limit. I'd like to write more puns about it, but I'm out of ink. This is Carl Azus for CNN.